your host, Peter Komendowski, and welcome to Surviving Bad, where we explore stories of survival, hope, and inspiration. Today we're talking about people working to overcome incredible odds and people who are there to help them succeed. After prison time or dealing with substance use recovery and addiction, things that many of us take for granted are hard for people to access. Now, barriers to opportunity and stigma can make finding normal a frustrating process. Our guest, Garrett Sheppard, founded an organization, Hard to Love, to help people get their lives back. Let's meet Garrett and learn about his journey. Garrett, welcome to the show. Tell us about yourself.
Thank you for having me. It means a lot. I'm a 16-year addict, on and off for 16 years. Started when I was 15, ended pretty much when I was 32. But I did all drugs. They say you do one drug, and I tried to try them all. My big vices were meth and heroin, and I'd be shooting them at the same time. Just because it would loosen you up and it would speed you up enough to where you weren't feeling sore from doing the meth and driving out, but you weren't feeling the sleep from the heroin. But yeah, that's where I come from. I come from a long line of just trying all sorts of drugs my entire life, like everything.
Did you ever serve time?
I have served time many times. I think it was the only thing that really saved my life. That'll irritate a lot of people, but I served time for distribution of marijuana back in 2010. And then I actually got out of prison April 20th, 2020. But I was sober a year before I went to jail. And then I had county time. I had years of in county. It was probably like in county when I got caught, and I was like in the middle of my addiction, either shooting heroin, fentanyl. They say heroin, but when you go get it from people, you don't know what you're getting. You could get heroin, you could get fentanyl, you could get carafentanil, or the 17 or 20, whatever other types of fentanyl there is. And so actually being stuck in jail and no one bonding me out probably saved my life, because I was down to like 160 pounds and I'm 6'6". So I know you're a big guy too, but yeah, I was like, I'm 280 right now, and I was like 160 in the midst of my addiction. So.
Yeah, because when I heard about you, I was on a walk for Ann Breeding, who'd lost her son to an overdose. And I was impressed. The person talking next to me was talking about your organization. I'd never heard of it. And I thought, that's pretty unique. I mean, it takes a lot of dedication. What sort of inspired you to put your life out there for other people?
I was tired of really relapsing. I mean, I got sober. I'd be sober for 2 to 6 months, always feel like an addict, have my life going great, have a good job at that point, start to get a car, and then I just spiral back down the toilet bowl. And I did this year after year. And I was like, what's wrong with me? Why? I want something else. I got goals for something else, but nothing was working. And, after I tried to kill myself a couple different times and ODing a couple times, I really had to really research it. And I was just like, dude, what is wrong with me? I found a lot of things with your brain and what your body's actually doing in recovery. And when I found this out, I was like, why aren't they teaching this stuff to people? What is going on? They keep doing the same thing, and they're trying their best with the resources they have, but why aren't they teaching this other stuff that can actually help people get through it, that's shown beneficial to them?
I wish I could credit with a name the anonymous person that turned me on to your organization, because they said something really interesting. They said what the problem they had, because of the number of times they had relapsed and been in and out of prison, was that there's so many big gaps that you just can't overcome because they're not part of the culture that's available to you, and that you were able to address some of those gaps and build confidence and health into people's lives, which is Something, people talk about going to the gym and doing this, but those are not easy things to do when you're in recovery.
No, not at all. And that is definitely not the top priority for you. Just they say your recovery comes first. Your recovery comes first. And I agree with that 1,000%. But you've abused your relationships, you've abused your own self, and you have abused your body, which is your home. It's the only place that you live, no matter where you're staying. I've stayed in the jail, I've stayed on a jail floor. It doesn't matter. I live in here. This is where I am all the time. And we've abused it by utilizing drugs so much that this should be the first thing we get back right. Because if we get back this right and we get back this right, we're going to be more beneficial to ourselves, to our family. We're going to be able to do things in the community at a higher level, because in here is working at its correct level.
We're going to take a short break and come back and continue our conversation with Garrett about getting things right. See you all after the break. You don't want to miss this.
The black truck? Hey, Christina from accounting.
Yeah, hi.
Hey, I used to date a girl named Christina.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then she dumped me for my best friend. You want to see some photos of them that I took?
I don't.
I thought we talked about this, buddy.
Buzzed and overshared again?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna call a car.
That's a smart idea.
So yeah, I know, that's why I did it.
Hey, you're gonna get back to the top of the mountain.
Does that mean I'm gonna get back with Christina?
No.
Oh.
No.
Every second, 127 new devices connect to the internet. You can feel it happening, our digital world expanding with every breath. We're entering a whole new era of connectivity, and MediaCom will be ready to power it with one of the nation's first 10G platforms. We'll be bringing you more speed, more capacity, more security, and the power to do more than you ever dreamed possible.
Welcome back to Surviving Bad. I'm your host, Peter Komendowski, and we're talking with Garrett Sheppard of Hard to Love about the hard times people dealing with recovery from substance abuse or prison, what they face trying to find a path to healing and a sense of safe and normal. Just because people have faced hard times doesn't mean that they're hard people. These are real people just like you and I. And Garrett, you talk about, building that person back up. Share that with us. That what you said over the break was just phenomenal.
When we're going into recovery and stuff, you have to do you first. You don't function correctly. Your body doesn't function correctly. You're pretty much lost. And I'm not trying to build athletes. I don't care if you run a marathon. I don't care if you're going to power lift. I don't care if you're doing CrossFit. I will show you avenues that you can do that. But we need to get your body like a tune-up and get your body working again. So it's a lifestyle change. So the more you change your body, the studies have really shown, they show this time and time again. 12 weeks, 3 days a week of strength training will rewire our brain's neuroplasticity. So what that means is if you're lifting weights for 3 days a week, you can actually break down those neural connections that are hardwired for drugs, meth, that no matter what you're doing, you could be off drugs for 2 years and you still got a 50% chance of relapse. But it can break down these neural connections and create new ones. With that, you actually up your chances of success actually in recovery. You not only make it faster, but you can do it a lot longer is what they're showing. We bring in the nutrition portion because you abuse your body so much, you're depleting it of all the nutrients. Everything is absolutely out of your system. So what are you doing? You're frying your serotonin receptors. You're frying your dopamine receptors. You are doing things to your body that it takes a long time for it to redo. And they're showing, it's showing time and time again that if you can get the correct nutrition in you, that your chances of recovery are a lot higher. The chances of success are a lot more. And it's just like your absolute mood, stability, and everything is primed for success, because all your serotonin, 95% of it is in your gut. It's right here. So if you don't have that right, your mood is going to be way off. So that's your mood stability. Your sleep is going to be off, which drug addiction and mental health, all of those are off. Your sex drive is going to be off. These things are all correlated in the same hormone. So,
you've really taught me something, because so often when people talk about the disease of addiction, they really talk about the cure being the drug, eliminating the drug from your life. But this path you're talking about seems so essential to dealing with recovery. Now, on that note, you also, obviously a lot of people that have problems with drugs have had some prison time. Do you find that the majority of the people you work with that have been in prison, drugs have been the aggravating sort of problem?
Oh yeah, I would say the majority of people in prison, drugs is a high percentage of people. I'm a 9-time felon. I'm not proud of that. I feel it's been struggles, but when I got my first felony in 2009, and then I felt like my life was over. So I just crashed into drugs for many, many years. That's all I did. And until I finally came to peace and I really started developing this program after seeing what these other things are missing and why aren't they sharing this, of why my brain is doing certain things and why I keep relapsing, did I finally break out those neural connections. And yeah.
That's a pretty amazing thing. How many people do you work with on the average?
We worked with 40 our first year. This year, I actually am starting my first batch in June. We were moving some stuff around. I actually started this evening, and I'll be working with anywhere between 10 and 30 people per session. So we do 3 days of strength training and then 2 days of yoga per week. So we want to incorporate the yoga and the mindfulness into you, because when you haven't moved your body, even if you haven't done drugs, you're brittle. Your muscles are just so tight. It's like a frozen rubber band. And if I get you out there and all of a sudden you're throwing around weights, you're gonna tear your muscle. So we want to. We call it moving like a human again. We want you to relax, get your muscles moving, actually have them open up and blood flowing to the right things before we even start thinking about weights.
Sounds like you're coming up with a new natural high for people to enjoy.
I mean, you get those right endorphins and stuff going, it can feel like that.
Well, we're going to take a short break, and afterwards we're going to ask Garrett to share some success stories that keep him inspired. Stay tuned. We'll see you all after the break.
Multiple studies have shown that marijuana can slow both driver reaction and response time, which can be really dangerous. He's here. He's here. Wait. What?
I can't drive.
Why?
My. Oh.
Every second, 127 new devices connect to the internet. You can feel it happening. Our digital world expanding with every breath. We're entering a whole new era of connectivity, and MediaCom will be ready to power it with one of the nation's first 10G platforms. We'll be bringing you more speed, more capacity, more security, and the power to do more than you ever dreamed possible.
welcome back to Surviving Bad. We're talking with Garrett Sheppard of Hard to Love and learning about some of the remarkable things happening to inspire at-risk individuals to achieve some long-term success in recovery and life. Garrett, tell us how your program works.
Awesome. So we really wanted to fill gaps in other programming. So what we do is we do 3 days a week of strength training and 2 days a week of yoga and mindfulness. We believe that teaching people how to breathe correctly can actually lower people's parasympathetic nervous systems. So if you're about to have an anxiety attack or you're triggered, certain breathing techniques can actually lower that and take you out of that. So we try to teach people and empower them to at least a little bit of knowledge so they don't go through it. But moving forward, we do 3 days a week of that, 2 days of yoga. Then we add in cooking classes where we teach meal prep and then cooking for your family, healthy meals in a community kitchen. And then we do a money management program where we do wants versus needs and budgeting, and then credit and credit repair. We actually have a person that will run their credit and actually strategize what they need to take care of first and how to do that so they can raise their credit score. Our goal is to help as many people as possible, not only save $1,000, but raise their credit 50 points. Because, I mean, I would say 95% of people that have been in addiction have crashed their credit score out. And then we're followed by job skills, but we don't look at job skills like, I don't want to build a resume with you. You can get on Indeed. There's 1,000 different things to do it. What I want to do is find purpose. I can't tell you how many times I got out of prison or out of addiction or out of rehab, and I would just spiral. I would get the highest paying job, and then it would take my time, take my money, take everything. I wouldn't have time for anything, and it would spiral me back down. We look for what's purposeful, what's meaningful. I mean, you throw a rock out there, you can get a job making in between 20 and 25 an hour. And yet people are still struggling with the $10 and $12 an hour. So we look at what would be purposeful, what will still make time for their friends and family, and we try to connect them with that job of places that will actually deal with ex-addicts and felons, which is, the world's opening up for people with past.
Yeah, we talk about people with a past. That brings us to another issue, and that's the one of stigma. You know, you really, whether it's job hunting or you know, just getting your life back in order, the things you're mentioning, you know, financial skills, finding your passion in life, getting healthy. This is a similar script that you see being sold to white middle class America, to, you know, even in schools now. But the population of people that have dealt with these problems and have these challenges before them don't get a lot of support from the general system. And that's got to be anxiety producing. I mean, it's got to be bizarre to say teach people to deal with anxiety, and breathing is a great way. But at the same time, they're going into a world that has much more reason to have anxiety than most other people that haven't been through their journey, that past you mentioned.
Right.
How do you bolster their pride, their inspiration in the face of all that?
I think that when you're rebuilding yourself, a lot of times with fitness and nutrition, like those people, you're doing it yourself. That is something that you can't cheat on. You don't get it for paying for it. You get it for doing the work. And the people who do make it through end up making, I love this part, $10,000 a year or more, because their confidence is raised. Their feeling of self-respect and self-worth is back, especially with domestic violence victims. Their feeling of themselves being their self and not just nothing. They get that feeling of power back. And that is amazing, because yeah, there's stuff that if you go looking for what's wrong and what I can't have, man, I'm gonna hit wall everywhere I go. And when I switched it this past time to knocking on doors and knowing what I do have and what I am worth, I'm sitting here talking to you today because I stopped making excuses and started knocking on doors and asking the right questions of, hey, what can I do? Hey, what should I do? Hey, how do I do this? And I understood where I wanted to go.
That is such a great point. We're going to take another short break. And afterwards, we're going to ask Garrett to share some final comments, insights, and advice that can help you understand the world around you and maybe help. See you all after the break. You don't want to miss this.
Today, more than ever, you need fast, reliable internet. At MediaCom, we want you to know you can count on us. Our fiber-powered 100% gigabit technology network was built for the future. We have enormous capacity and power and 99.99% network reliability. So even though these are uncertain times, we're prepared. And you can be certain we'll keep your world connected. Every second, 127 new devices connect to the internet. You can feel it happening, our digital world expanding with every breath. We're entering a whole new era of connectivity, and MediaCom will be ready to power it with one of the nation's first 10G platforms. We'll be bringing you more speed, more capacity, more security, and the power to do more than you ever dreamed possible.
Welcome back. Today on Surviving Bad, we're talking about the hard times people dealing with recovery from substance abuse or prison face to find a path to healing. And, importantly, some of the work being done to help find a sense of safe and normal. Let's hear what final comments Garrett has to share with us. Garrett, you work with people on a path to making their lives better. Tell us how this sort of fellowship works to help people move forward in their lives.
We partnered with Dads with a Purpose. My partner, Kevin Valentine, Britt, Mr. Meeks, and Pastor Bell, they have transitional living houses. I actually sit as the board on the board as a director of wellness and recovery. So they come in and we bring them through the fitness, the ones that want to go that route, through the fitness, and then they're mandatory through the nutrition, the money management, and then the job skills. The fitness isn't for everybody, but the partnership is very powerful because they help the community and men and women, get back to their families. And that's literally what Hard to Love is about. Loving those hardest to love.
What was that other organization you mentioned that you partner with?
Dads with a Purpose.
And I'm going to have them on an upcoming show, so I'm glad you plugged that, because that sort of all ties together as we look at this network of people working together to help bring families back together.
Yes.
Now, you've been down this road, so you get a chance. I call it time travel. I often ask people, if you could go back to your younger self when you started with drugs, alcohol, or whatever, what would you tell yourself? Now, we know we wouldn't change anything. We know we wouldn't listen, but what would you try to say? But in essence, when you're working with people, you get to do that every day.
You can't tell anybody nothing. That's what I found out is you can't tell anybody in addiction anything. They have to want it, and then you have to be able and be willing to help them in that path. But if you don't, you just end up enabling them. And I see that a lot. People get enabled and it just keeps them back in that path.
We talked about obesity being a problem when we were off camera. And, doctors have learned that it's exercise, nutrition, it's not pills or drugs that solve your happiness problem when you're facing those issues. And in fact, we talk about, you said 50% of the people relapse, but when people go in for treatment for diabetes or high blood pressure, a much higher rate relapses. And they're in the direct care of a doctor, and they have medicines that help them. So in a way, you guys are sort of ahead of the curve. At 50%, it's not great, but my God, it's better than a lot of areas where we put a lot of medical attention. And I think some of that has to do with the fact that you're with people that have a common goal, understand the problems, and learn to face it together.
Right. That's 50% chance of relapse if you make it to 2 years. The chance of recovery right now, they switched the recovery standard to harm reduction. So it's from shooting meth to smoking meth, or shooting it to smoking weed, but it's in single digits right now. The recovery. So right now, the recovery standards for the U.S. is very at its all-time low, especially after COVID.
So how do you feel about that when it comes to the work that you do?
I feel that Des Moines area is going to be the leader in the next 5 years for recovery because of all these organizations that are coming together, and they want to get the person to the right recovery center. Instead of just calling one, you just go down the list. You call one, you go to that, call the other, go to that, or whatever. We would rather, we want it to be working together, so we're not.
And recovery in a traditional sense often costs a lot of money. What's it like to interact with your organization?
It's free. Organizations like this out on the coast and other places are $30,000 to $50,000, sometimes $80,000. I don't feel like capitalizing on people's demise. That doesn't sound right to me. I want to help people get back to their families, get back to themselves, and actually be a productive member of society without trying to hinder them.
Well, Garrett, thank you so much for not only sharing your story and your success, but the work that you do in shedding some light on issues people may not otherwise know much about. So thank you all for joining us today. Check out our website, ahealthyiowa.org, and keep your eye on MediaCom MC22 for our next episode of Surviving Bad, where we explore stories of survival, hope, and inspiration. I'm MediaCom MC22, your local programming leader.